The elevator that only goes down. In New York City, where glittering towers kiss the clouds and subways thunder beneath the streets, there is a building that locals prefer to forget. The Harrington Hotel once stood as a monument of luxury, a 20-story high-rise that hosted wealthy travelers, jazz musicians, and movie stars. Built in 1923, it was supposed to be eternal, its marble pillars and chandeliers promising comfort to anyone who stepped through its golden doors. But by the late 1970s, whispers spread about people checking in and never checking out. Whole families vanished. Guests pressed elevator buttons and were never seen again. Lawsuits, scandals, bankruptcies followed, and eventually, the Harrington closed its doors. But the building was never demolished. Developers tried, but every attempt failed, fires broke out, investors pulled their money, and workers fell to bizarre accidents. The building refused to die. And deep in its bones was the thing everyone feared most, the elevator. They said no matter what button you pressed, the elevator only went down. Some said it took you to the basement. Others swore it carried you deeper, beneath the city, to levels that weren't on any map. Levels that weren't supposed to exist. On Halloween night in 2023, 4 college students, Maya, Lucas, Jordan, and Evelyn, decided to film the legend for their YouTube channel. They were film students at NYU, obsessed with urban exploration and hungry for viral content. Viral gold, Lucas had said. Ghost hunting at the haunted Harrington. They slipped past the chain-link fence, ducked under a rusted padlock, and entered the lobby. Time had gutted the place. Chunks of plaster littered the floor, the chandeliers hung by rusted wires, and graffiti covered the cracked marble. Yet at the far end of the lobby stood the elevator, its tarnished brass doors still intact, glowing faintly as if some hidden power pulsed inside. "This is crazy," Evelyn whispered, clutching her camera. "The BU. Building's been closed for 40 years. How is that even on?" "Because," Lucas smirked, "this is the part where the legend proves itself." Maya felt a chill crawl up her spine as Lucas pressed the call button. With a mechanical groan, the doors slid open. Inside, the elevator looked untouched, gleaming brass railings, polished tile floor, soft golden light overhead. It smelled faintly of lavender, as though housekeeping had just left. The 4 exchanged nervous glances before Lucas stepped in first. "Come on, let's make history." They all crowded inside. Lucas pressed the button for the 20th floor. The elevator shuddered, lights flickering as the floor indicator lit up. They braced for the upward climb. But instead, the indicator ticked backward. 19, 18, 17. "Ah, Lucas," Maya said tightly. "You pressed up, right?" "Of course I did." He jabbed the button again, harder this time. But the elevator continued down. 15, 14, 13. Jordan slammed his hand against the door. "This isn't funny. Let us out." The elevator ignored him, descending past 10, 9, 8, the air growing heavy, metallic. Finally it stopped with a jolt at B3. Basement 3. But hotels didn't have 3 basements. The doors opened. A hallway stretched before them, lined with faded red wallpaper that looked wet, as if dripping. Dim bulbs swung overhead, their glow sickly yellow. Doors lined each side of the corridor, but the numbers made no sense. Room 17, Room 42, Room 9, Room 666. Evelyn whispered, "This doesn't feel like part of the hotel." They stepped out cautiously. The smell of rust filled their noses, mixed with something sweeter, decay. Then a scream shattered the silence. High-pitched, human, coming from behind one of the doors. "Help me, please." Lucas grabbed the handle before anyone could stop him. Inside, the room looked like a snapshot from decades past, a rotary phone on the nightstand, a glass of bourbon still half full, a suitcase open. On the bed, on the floor, deep claw marks gouged the wood. The scream had stopped. The room was silent. Maya tugged Lucas back. "We need to leave, now." They sprinted to the elevator, relief flooding them when the doors were still open. They rushed inside. Lucas slammed the button for the lobby. The elevator groaned, lights flickering. But again, it didn't rise. It sank deeper. B4, B5, B6. Cold air seeped into the cabin, frost crawling across the brass railing. Evelyn's breath fogged the glass of her camera. Jordan muttered curses, pressing every button. None responded. Finally, the elevator stopped at B13. The doors slid open onto a different world. The walls here were painted with murals of children playing, though the paint was cracked and warped, their smiles twisted into sinister grins. Toys littered the floor, eyeless dolls, a rocking horse splintered with age, a jump rope stiff with dried stains. From somewhere in the darkness came the sound of laughter. Not joyful, but mocking. A ball rolled down the hallway, stopping at Evelyn's feet. She bent slowly to pick it up. When she looked up, dozens of pale children stood at the far end of the corridor, silent, staring. Their eyes were black pits. The lights snapped off. Screams filled the darkness. A child's hand brushed Maya's arm, icy and wet. Jordan fumbled with his flashlight, flicking it on. The hallway was empty, but Evelyn was gone. Only her camera lay on the ground, its lens cracked, still recording. Panic erupted. Lucas shouted her name, sprinting down the hall, but the corridor seemed to stretch endlessly. Maya dragged him back. "No, we have to stay together." They retreated into the elevator. The doors closed, sealing them in. The floor indicator ticked again. Down. Always down. B20, B21, B22. Jordan's face was pale. "We're already beneath the subway lines. This doesn't make sense. There can't be this much space below the city." Maya whispered, "What if it doesn't stop?" At B27, the doors opened. Ned. This floor was different. Dark water covered the ground, rippling gently. The ceiling was too high to see, shadows swirling like smoke. They stepped out carefully, the water icy around their ankles. In the center of the flooded hall floated hotel furniture, chairs, a mattress, broken lamps. And bodies. Pale, bloated corpses bobbed silently, their faces contorted in terror. Jordan gagged. "Oh my God!" One of the bodies twitched. Slowly, impossibly, it sat up, water streaming from its mouth. It turned toward them, empty sockets staring. Then another moved. And another. Dozens of drowned guests dragged themselves upright, whispering in voices that gurgled with water. "Stay with us." The students bolted back into the elevator. As the doors closed, icy hands slapped the metal, fingernails screeching. But the doors sealed, cutting off the drowned chorus. Down again. B30, B31, B32. The lights flickered red. Maya's reflection in the mirrored wall began to move differently than she did. When she raised her hand, it stayed still. Then it smiled at her with teeth too sharp, pressing its palm against the glass. She screamed, stumbling back. Lucas covered the mirror with his jacket. The elevator stopped once more. B40. The doors opened onto a ballroom. Chandeliers glittered, violins played faintly. Figures in tuxedos and gowns danced elegantly across the marble floor. But their skin was gray, eyes hollow, mouths stitched shut. They twirled silently, feet dragging, yet somehow graceful. At the far end stood Evelyn. Or something that looked like her. She wore a blood-red gown, her eyes black as coal. She lifted her hand and beckoned them forward. Lucas rushed out before anyone could stop him, calling her name. She smiled, but it wasn't Evelyn's smile. The dancers parted, swallowing him into their waltz. The elevator doors slammed shut on Maya and Jordan's screams. The descent continued. B50, B60, B70. Now only Maya and Jordan remained, clutching each other in terror. The air grew thin, suffocating. Jordan sank to the floor, sobbing. "It won't stop. It's never going to stop." At B100, the elevator jolted violently. The doors opened onto nothing but darkness. An endless void. A wind howled, pulling at them like a mouth trying to suck them in. Jordan lost his grip and was yanked into the black, his scream fading until silence swallowed him whole. Maya collapsed, trembling, alone. The doors closed. Down again. B101, B102, B103. She realized the truth then. The Harrington wasn't just a haunted hotel. It was alive. It fed on souls, dragging them deeper and deeper until they ceased to exist. The elevator was its throat, swallowing one victim after another. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. With shaking hands, she pulled it out. The screen flickered with static before displaying a live stream, her own terrified face staring back at her. Thousands of viewers were watching. Comments flew across the screen. "Is this real? Best ARG ever. What's in the basement?" She screamed into the camera. "Help me, please, someone." The feed cut to black. The elevator dinged. The doors opened. And somewhere far above, in the empty Harrington lobby, the elevator returned to the ground floor. Its brass doors slid open, revealing an empty cabin. No trace of Maya. Only her phone lay on the floor, screen cracked, still recording. The building hummed quietly, as though satisfied. Waiting for the next curious soul to step inside. Because the elevator only goes down.